I'm Chef Terry Reese, and this is Tips, Tricks, and Techniques. At the dinner table, meaningful conversations about school, work, and life support children and encourage them to succeed. Parent University and Believe to Become are proud to support our show today. Hi, I'm Chef Terry Reese, and this is Tips, Tricks, and Techniques, a cooking show where I like to teach all of my friends out there how to cook like a professional chef. I'm always asked about appetizer parties and how and why and what can you do to make it easier and simpler. I always tell my friends to feature about 3 different items. So today we're going to make beggar's purses, which are little phyllo packets of goodness, some stack sushi, and a white bean dip that is so easy you'll wonder why you didn't think of it yourself. We're going to start with the beggar's purses. And right now I've got some butter melting in a pan, and we're going to work with some mushrooms. I've got some already chopped up just to save myself some time. And I'm going to finish chopping up the rest of these that I have. These could be any mushrooms that you like. White mushrooms, they could be portobellas, you could have any. I wouldn't use morels though, because that would be a waste of a great morel. So I get my mushrooms fairly evenly cooked. I should say sliced, not cooked. And I'm going to turn the heat up on that. And I'm going to let it get nice and hot so they can get cooked. And as usual, I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper to them. Now I keep my salt and pepper in jars like this so I can just go as I want and add a little bit here at a time. I'm going to stir this around, and I'm going to let it go for a bit. Get them nice and soft. I've already melted some butter, and that's what I'm going to use for my phyllo dough. So I'm going to do a little bit of multitasking here. I'm going to start with the phyllo, I'm going to add the rest of my ingredients and go back and forth until I get it taken care of. Now here's a little trick for you at home. You have a cutting board that you've used on one side, just pick it up, flip it over, and use it on the other side. Now when you buy phyllo, I always suggest, and very sorry, I was a little impatient when I opened it, that you buy 2 packages, because you never know if this package is already going to be dried out or not. And you want to defrost it at room temperature. It lays out a little bit like this, and you want to put a damp towel on it. The first piece usually gets a little bit shaky, so I'm going to take it off. And then I'm going to take the second sheet and lay it on my cutting board. This doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, if it's a little torn on the edges, you're okay. I do have some butter that I've melted. The pan is not too hot, so I will set it there so I can get into this. And then I'm going to brush butter. Yep, lots of butter. You probably have had phyllo when you've had baklava, and this is the same process that you want to do. Too much butter, it gets gummy. I'm going to take another section here, try to get just one piece, and lay it down. There we go. Smooth it out a little bit, stir my mushrooms, they're looking good. The next thing I'm going to add into that is some spinach. And what I have here is some frozen spinach, and I've drained it just taking a towel. What you want to do is just get all the water out of it using a towel, and that way you'll be able to get it. Now it's not the prettiest sometimes, but this is what it looks like, and I'm just going to throw it in my pan. And I'll break it up. Again, I'm going to use a little bit of salt and pepper because you season as you go, it tastes better. A little salt, a little pepper, and I'm working with some of my favorite items. Another piece of phyllo down, brush it, and I'm going to add one more sheet to it. Now I'm working pretty fast, but if you were going slower at home, and sometimes that does happen, all you need to do is take a damp towel, place it over the top of your phyllo, and that way it will stay nice and moist. One more section. This is kind of one of my favorite parts to do here. And I'll pick up again and take one. Now, you might as well make as many of these as you have for phyllo dough, because you really can't use this dough over again. You might be able to salvage it, but it's really not worth it. And you want at least 4 layers. You notice here, I got a little messy. It's fine. You don't have to be exact. And my nice little towel on top, brush my butter. Now basically what you've done is clarified your butter, which is kind of cool. So I'm going to finish up my filling. Now this could be anything. I used to work at a place and we would have to come up with different types of recipes, and we would put blueberries and sugar and cinnamon in those. And now we're going to add in 8 ounces of cream cheese. Yep, cheese. And I'm going to break it up a little bit so it comes easier to melt. And we will smooth that all the way around. Now I'm just going to smash it all up in my pan and get it all combined. And if I spill a little, well, my husband would say, that's normal. I'm always spilling at home. By the way, at my house, the rule of thumb is if you cook, the other person does dishes. So anybody out there who wants to learn how to cook, I think you need to make that as a rule. Now the last thing I'm going to add into this mixture is to add a little bit of saltiness in with the cheese. And so I'm going to use feta cheese. Now you can buy feta many different ways. You can buy it already crumbled, or you can buy it in the brine like I have here. And I've already gotten a piece semi-cut, and I'll bring it out. And it's very briny, and you can crumble it just normally. And you leave it in the brine, which is just salted water. It will help keep that moist and good for quite a long time. Now I got to rinse my hands a little bit here because they're sticky. And I like a little heat in mine, so I'm going to use a little cayenne pepper. You don't have to. You could use any seasoning you wanted. You could add some onion, you could add garlic. This is one of those that you could just customize to your own self. And mix it up. You notice how quick this has come together? Now if you wanted, you could buy your mushrooms already cut and diced in the store. You can have them whole. Anything would work. So while that's finishing up on that side, what I want to do is go ahead, turn this off, and then work with my dough here. I've got probably about 4 pieces here, so I'm going to slice down the center. And actually, I'm going to use a pizza knife, pizza cutter, this way and then that way. And all I need to do is get a spoon, take a dollop of my mixture, it's nice and hot, set it in the center. Go ahead and do that in all 4 little square areas. By the way, this would also make a good party dip. So this dip here is great for doing some other, just with crackers. And what we do is we will roll this up into a little beggar's purse. Set it up on a sheet tray that's been greased, and you'll put them in the oven at about 400 degrees for approximately 10 to 12 minutes, depending on your oven. Drizzle them with a little bit of butter right before you put them in so that they stay moist. Yeah, there we go. Individual, nice hot little pieces. And when they come out, they are nice and brown and golden, little bite size, well, not bite size, 2 or 3 bites for a piece here. So this is my first appetizer for my appetizer party. Next coming up, we'll be doing a stacked sushi. I'll see you soon. We're back again, and what we have today is a stacked sushi. Now, I love sushi, but I'm terrible at rolling it. So one day I was flipping through a cookbook and I found a version of stacked sushi and I went, well, that's brilliant. So I stole the recipe. So what I want to do today is talk to you a little bit about sushi rice and about how to make stacked sushi. So in the store, you'll go and you can buy all kinds of sushi rice. There are tons and tons of different vendors out there. My advice is to read the back of the package and follow the directions. If you go to an Asian style store, it'll probably tell you to rinse your rice. If you go to a more American style store, it's probably been processed a little bit. Cook it according to package directions, and then you need to lay it out once it's cooked onto a sheet pan that has parchment paper on it. And what you end up doing, and it's really sticky, is taking a little bit of water, some rice wine vinegar, and a couple tablespoons of sugar. And that's what you do to pour over it. Now we're going to use our imaginations here because making sushi rice would have taken us about 20 or 30 minutes. You would mix this up. This is hot rice, and then you would just drizzle this over it, which I've already done. This is now quite sticky, and it's really going to be good. And as you notice, it's going to stick to your hand, so this is not one of those you need to be neat kind of things. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a tray that I have, and I'm going to get my nori paper out. Nori is seaweed. This will keep for an awful long time, and we're going to do a couple of layers while we do this. You can see it's fairly thin and it spreads out very easily, and there's a shiny side and a dull side. So I'm going to put the shiny side down, and I'm going to take my mixture of rice, and I'm going to take about a third of it. And it doesn't have to be rocket science. You just need to get a little bit of it. You'll have enough to go all the way through. Take it, gather it up, and then stick it down here. Go ahead, push it through. And there we go. Now what I'm going to add on this one is some smoked salmon. You could use salmon, you could use tuna, you can use any vegetables that you want. And again, in order to get my salmon so I can use it, I'm just going to rinse my fingers a little bit and grab a towel and dry them off. I have my salmon here, and I'm going to peel off some pieces. It's really finely shredded, layered, and you want to make sure that you separate these pieces very evenly. And we're going to set them down on our paper. Now, if your rice isn't coming over to the edges, don't worry. In the end, it will, and I'll show you how. Get a couple more going. Now, I actually had a client who hated sushi, he said. He just didn't like the way that everybody rolled it. And one day I made this for him, and he said, well, this is really good. This isn't sushi. And I just smiled and said, okay, that's great. I'm going to put another piece of seaweed paper on there and take a rolling pin and lightly just roll this back over. It'll help spread everything over and get it taken care of. A third, again, of my beautiful rice that I have here. And then we're going to push this down. See how sticky it is? That means I made it really well. You should always use a wooden spoon when you spread your rice out. That helps to not break things up, and you really want to be gentle with it. I also know that you can cook your rice in either a rice cooker or just on the stove. Either way, just follow the directions and it will all work out. I do know if you cook it on the stove, your pan tends to get a little sticky on the bottom, and that's normal, so you might not get all the rice out that you have. So I got a little bit more off my hands here again. And now I'm going to put some avocado on there. I could do anything I wanted on it. I could do any vegetable that was soft, anything that I wanted. But the avocado today turned out to be really good. As you know, in the other section that we were doing, I used 2 packages of phyllo. I'm using 2 avocados. Why? You can't open this package and know what it is until you open it up. So I have some avocado, and I'm going to break this open. You want to make sure that you don't get the little seedy nub there because that's not very good. And I'm just going to use my fingers, because this is kind of like a finger dish here, and spread it out. You're going to section it through so that you get a bite in almost every one. And you're probably going, Terry, you're not really filling that up like making, like a guacamole to spread it. You could do that if you wanted, but when I show you how I'm going to press this down, you'll find that I just saved myself a step of making that. Go through, set it down. It's kind of messy, it's kind of fun. I'm kind of a messy chef. That's just the way it is. So now I'm going to take my last layer, put it on top, use my trusty rolling pin, roll it through a bit. Oh, I got 2 pieces. We'll move that one off. And then I'm going to take my last rice. I'm going to just spread this out, layer this up, keep going for how, and I've done this as high as 6 layers, but I think it's easier with 3 or 4 layers. Finish it up with the rest of my smoked salmon. Oh, this smells so good. I just want to eat this without even putting it there. Put my last piece of nori on top. Do the smush thing again. That's a technical term, smush. And now the hard part comes. Because what I need to do, take this off. I need to press this down overnight. So what I'll do is pop this on, wrap it up, put it in my refrigerator for at least 12 hours or overnight so everything smushes down. So now you know why I didn't have to spread out the avocado. If I want to, I can put some weights on it. I could get some cans of beans or soup and put them in the corners and go ahead and set it down. I'll show you what it looks like. I've already cut into this because we wanted to make some beautiful pieces and to make sure. But if you can see there are some beautiful layers of everything going through. And let me get this out of the way. And what you have here is half of that, I know. But I want to show you how to cut something that's big. So this works for either cake, it'll work for anything that you're going to cut that's in a sheet pan or in a big pan, anything along those lines. In your mind, just cut it in half. So I'm going to go this way and cut this in half. And for this, I am using a slicing knife. It's a long knife, it's thin, and it'll let me bring a nice smooth cut all the way down. So we'll cut all the way down. And now I have 2 sections to deal with. So depending upon how big I want to make this, I could cut this into 3 or into 2. So let's go with 3. We'll see if I can do it today. There it goes. Now watch. I don't want to get my fingers cut, so I'm making a little area there. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Cut it into 3 slices. Again, cut it through, clean my knife off a little bit, and do the same thing here. I'm going to cut it in half. This will be a little tighter now because the pieces are getting ready to go. And there is always some piece parts that'll fall off, and those are just chef's tastings. Those are what we get to eat. So don't worry if a couple of them don't work, because you'll be able to salvage it very easily. So I got it halfway sitting there. Going to wipe my hands off again because I want to make sure that this looks really nice when I put it down. And get myself a plate. So I'm going to use my carving knife or a spatula or anything that you have, and I'm going to come up through the center. Oh, didn't quite go through. And work one at a time. Now you do need to work a little slow when you're doing this to make sure that you can get the separations, because that nori can get a little stiff and a little bit difficult. And there you have it, a beautiful piece of stacked sushi. Do a couple more slices here. I'm lucky today. They always told me I should do odd numbers on a plate. So let's see if I can get through here. 4 and 5. Ha! Didn't work this time. Go through again and get my piece so it's cut. I'm going to garnish this with some pickled ginger. You can get this in the store. You could pickle your own ginger. I've done that before. Adds a little bit of brightness to your dish. You could skewer these with toothpicks if you wanted. And there you have it. Without too much difficulty, you can stack some sushi without having to worry about rolling it, customize it the way you want it, and serve it to your friends. Up next, we're going to show you how to make a simple bean dip that can be used 3, 4, maybe even 5 different ways. Sometimes I'm at home and I need an appetizer and I just don't want to go to the store. And I forget how easy some appetizers can be. So I have a 1, maybe 2 ingredient appetizer that will be great. All you need is a can of cannellini beans or black beans, your food processor, some salt and pepper, and some vehicles to put it in. So before I get to that, I want to talk to you about what you can put it in. You can make wonton cups. You can use cucumber cups. You can use a lot of different items. Wonton wrappers are found in the refrigerated section of the grocery store, and you can use mini tins like this. The tin is great. All you got to do is do a light spray. Take these nice little squares, pop them in gently, which sometimes I'm not too gentle with my food, but I'll be gentle today. Fill up your tray with as many of them as you want. We'll just do about 4 here for the time being. Do a light spray. Again, put them in the oven, a hot oven, which is about 400 degrees, for somewhere between 7 to 10 minutes, and they get nice and light and brown. And this is what they look like. You can store these cups in a Tupperware container or an airtight container for 7 to 10 days, and they can be filled with all kinds of scrumptious things. So I have a cup that I'm going to sit there, 1 or 2. The other thing you can do is you can put it on a slice of bread. So I'm just going to make 1 or 2 slices here. This could be toasted if you wanted. That was a bad slice. Let me use the right knife and use a serrated knife. But this bread is really kind of yummy, so I'm just going to let it be that way. So now I can put it on bread. I could hollow out a cucumber and put it on some cucumber, or I could just put it as a dip. And you're thinking, what's so easy about this? The can, and you need to strain it. And you want to reserve some of the liquid that you have. The reason being you might need it to thin it out or if it's too thick for you. So we'll go ahead and shake this down, toss this over. Now I happen to own one of these little baby food processors, which is kind of fun. Put my beans in there. Now I said a couple of ingredients. As always, I have salt and pepper, and this time I just kind of mixed it together so I didn't have to worry about it. Put that in. And what I'm going to do is just kind of whirl it till it gets how I want it to be. I can have it as smooth as I want or as choppy as I want. Now you can hear my processor's working a little hard, so I'm just going to take the water that was in the can, add a little bit of it in. And let it go. I want mine it's still a little thinner, so I'm going to add just a little bit more. You want to do this slowly. You don't want to add the whole can of water in because then you'll have soup. I guess that wouldn't be too bad. You could have soup for lunch then. Help if I put it on the right way. There we go. That's about right. Now, as always, I'm going to test and see what it tastes like. Got a spoon down here. Oh, I get a big spoon. We'll use it anyway. I want a little salt and pepper in there still. And I want a little acid. So I could go and get some vinegar. I've got a nice lemon here. Just something else to brighten it up. Quick little squeeze. Put the top back on. And there you have it. I don't know how long that took with me talking, but I now have a veggie dip. So let me get this over here. Grab my spatula from this side and go ahead and just put it in my bowl. Now this works with black beans. You can mix them and layer it. And if you have any of this left over, notice I said if you have any left over, all you have to do is make a sandwich out of it with some good things. So here's what you can do. Put this over, move my excess out of the way. Now in order to fill my cup, I like to use a measuring device, commonly called a truffle scoop, but it actually measures and it'll make it a nice, easy way to fill up a cup. So you do a scoop in there. Look at it, just fell over on me. And then maybe another scoop. I can get a knife out. I can spread this. I can add a little bit of greens to it. I had some leftover celery leaves that are edible. Brighten that up. And what we have is a dip, maybe some individual little cups, some pieces of toast, and you can serve it with veggies, crackers, all kinds of different things. So this is a quick, simple appetizer for your party. It's vegan friendly, it's easy, it's really inexpensive. I hope you enjoyed these recipes. You can find more at www.chefterryreese.com. Follow me on Facebook, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching today's show, Tips, Tricks, and Techniques. Remember, at the dinner table, much love is expressed. Life-giving conversations encourage children to believe in their unlimited potential, embrace high expectations, and seize every opportunity to achieve success in school, work, and life. Learn more about Believe to Become at ibelievebecome.org.